What's up guys, Tim here from Audio Tutor. So today we are talking about virtual instruments, and I understand if you are frustrated with the sound of your virtual piano instrument, that grand piano #1 or whatever it might be called. I get it. I used to get frustrated with this sort of thing myself. Pianos can tend to sound, virtual pianos can tend to sound unauthentic. They can sound really cheap. They can sometimes sound like a toy or one of those old terrible keyboards you might have had at school. And it can be really frustrating because it kind of ruins the whole vibe that you were going for in your song. You want something to sound like the authentic piano. We don't all have grand pianos in our home studios. So I get it. Today, I've got a great video that's going to teach you how to turn that sound into something that could fool someone into believing it's the real thing. Before we dive into that, if you are looking to get started recording and mixing with your own home studio setup, but you don't know what equipment you might need to get started doing that, I actually have a full recommendations list. All of those pieces of equipment you're going to need to get started recording and mixing on an affordable budget. It's all affordable stuff, absolutely free from me to you. There is a link below this video. Click the link. Give me your email address and I'll send it right over just to help. I just want to help you. It's a little gift from me to you. So check that out after the video. Let's dive in. This is a really good one. It's pretty in-depth, guys. It's a really good video. All right, enjoy. And I'm thinking about you. Alrighty, so I let it fade out there with the grand piano. That's kind of the outro at the moment as it stands. It's sort of a softer version of what the piano's doing in the chorus. So there's a reason I let it fade out on the grand piano, and that's because we're talking about the grand piano, that beautiful recording of a lovely grand. Well, would you believe it wasn't a recording at all? It was actually a MIDI arrangement that's been carefully tweaked and made to sound more authentic and realistic. So let's dive in and talk about how we achieved that sound, how we achieved something that sounded so realistic out of a sampled grand piano. Alright, so let's have a look at the piano roll here. This is the, 4 bars of the chorus that gets repeated. These are all the chords put together. The first thing you're going to notice are all these little rectangles of the MIDI arrangement that's drawn in. All those little rectangles are different colours. And what that represents is the velocity of each of those notes. So it ranges, as you can see here, it ranges, velocity's down here. If we take the velocity down, it goes kind of purpley colour. And if we take it up, it goes through sort of green and yellow and orange and red. And wow, red means that's too loud. Well, not necessarily, depending on what you're doing. So where was it? It was somewhere around here, I think. It was kind of bluish. Alright, so the first thing you're going to notice is that all of these notes are different colours, which means they're different velocities. And the reason for that is, if you are a piano player, you may know this. If you play a chord, as much as you try to play that chord with all the notes at an equal velocity, you try to put the equal pressure on all those notes, you're never going to put the exact equal pressure on those notes because you're not a machine. Your fingers will always hit the notes at a slightly different pressure. And so we've got to represent that in our MIDI. So you'll notice here, this bottom note down here is 27 on the velocity scale, and then we've got this next one in the triad here. We've got this G is at 55. Then we've got 52, and up on the D here, we've got 59. So they're all different, and that ranges all the way through on this next one here. We've got the C is on 50, and then we've got 42, 40, and the bottom note here is 43. So how do we achieve this? Well, let's take a look. What I've done here is I've made a copy of this arrangement over here. And this, as you will notice, all these rectangles are the same color. And that is because all the velocities are the same. This is what your arrangement will probably look like once you've been playing or drawing in your arrangement. Your arrangement will probably look something like this. In my case, I was using this musical typing feature on Logic. Anyone that's not familiar with this, you can literally play the piano using your computer keyboard instead, sounding something like this. Very nice. So that's what I did. I had this afternoon, I think I was looking after someone's dog and I wanted to waste some time. So I sat with my laptop and I put this whole arrangement together using MIDI. Here's your chords and they're all at the same velocity. So what you're going to want to do, and you can do this in any DAW, is you're going to want to go into each and every note and just change them up a bit. Instead of 64, let's go to 40. And on this one, let's keep it at 64, and on this one, take it down very slightly, and on this one, we'll have it nice and soft, like that. So now that chord sounds like this. Oh, it's a bit different, isn't it? It's a bit more realistic than what it was before. Now, if you're a Logic user, I have a lovely quick tip for you. Yay! Alright, so if you're in Logic, this is just for Logic users, but I'm sure other DAWs have something similar. I just don't use other DAWs. I use this one because it's awesome. So if we let's select all of our notes, like that, and head on over to Functions here. Go to Functions, go to MIDI Transform, and then go to Humanize, which does exactly what it says on the tin. Alright, so it brings up something like this, and you don't really need to do anything with that. It's set at a really nice default, so you don't need to worry about these buttons or anything. Let's just go Select and Operate, and then just exit out of that. And you'll notice what it's done is it's kind of randomized the velocity a bit, but only slightly. It hasn't massively changed anything. So you're not going to notice huge differences. It just makes it a bit more human, which is why it's called Humanize on the Function tab there. So let's have a listen what we've got now. So what you might notice is certain notes start sticking out because obviously it's just randomizing these velocities. So you've got to think about how a pianist would be playing this arrangement. So if something sticks out, I think they're this one. Was it this one or this one? Maybe this middle one was kind of sticking out. So let's take that down a bit. And that bottom note is very loud. So let's take that down. That sounds a bit more normal. Alright, so you can fiddle around with this, but the first thing you need to look at is velocity. The next thing is the note length. So another thing, so we've talked about the pressure from the pianist's fingers onto the notes. We've talked about that, the velocity. Let's talk about the note length. Now the note length essentially is when you hit the note and when you come off of the note. So when your finger goes down on the note and when your finger comes off of the note. Now again, a human being will never hit all the notes or come off all the notes at exactly the same time because you're not a machine. So let's look at, this is an example I put together of if you haven't played the notes, you've drawn in the notes one by one like so. So maybe you've gone, as many of you I'm sure have, one by one. Oh, we've got different velocities here, but there we go. You go like this, and you can do what you like and make different arrangements. Well, maybe you've written in your whole maybe you've written in this whole section. You've drawn the whole thing in note by note, and this is what you might end up with, something looking like this. What you'll notice is, of course, the velocity is, they're all the same. So first off, you want to change those velocities, make them a bit more human. But then the other thing you're going to notice here is that every single note comes on and comes off at exactly the same time. Very regimented, very quantized, as you will. See all these notes come on at the same time here, and then if we go to where they come off, we've got 4 notes here all coming off at exactly the same time, and this is digital, so we're talking exactly the same time. So let's have a little listen. So the arrangement is sounding very lacking in emotion. There's no emotion in the playing of those notes, and the emotion somewhat comes from your velocity. But now that we're, you know, these notes are very quantized, it's starting to sound really mechanical as well. And so because of that, it's starting to sound kind of fake and no longer like a real recording at all. So what you need to do now is head on in and start moving things around. I think I already had here, started moving things around. You see here, once we zoom in, these notes are actually coming in at slightly different times. But let's over-exaggerate this for an example. So if we, let's say the pianist played this note a bit early, this note a bit late, and this one tiny bit early, and this one was right on time. So let's listen to how that sounds. Alright, so yes, it's exaggerated, but this is kind of what we're going for, that sort of imperfect sound. Now the other thing you'll notice is because we moved the notes, they're coming off at different times as well, which again is more natural. So you see this one's coming off first, I think this one's coming off second, this one, and then this one's coming off late. Now you may not want to move them that much, as you know, as an example we're exaggerating, so let's look at this second chord and kind of move things around a little less. Yes. That bass note, there we go. Alright, so that's a little bit less noticeable there. Alright, and again, because we've moved the note, they're coming off at different times as well. Let's play it. Alright, so it's a very slight difference there, but it's making it just sound a bit more human. So you can go through your whole arrangement and move those little things around, change the velocity, and then you end up with something like this. So, looking at that, let's zoom in here. You notice here, this bass note is kind of hanging around too long. It shouldn't really be played here necessarily, but that's those little errors that make things sound more human. And we can see here, all of these notes are coming off at different times. That bass note is coming off way early, and then this, the F there, is coming off late. These two are coming off at a very similar time, but all of these notes are at a very slightly different velocity, being played just, you know, that one's a little bit softer than this one, alright, and this one's a lot softer. So there you have it. That's how we make things sound a bit more authentic, a bit more realistic. And then you've got your arrangement here, and obviously we've got some plugins over here. We've got what are these? This is a bit of saturation and EQ, and we've got a compressor and reverb. So guys, I hope that helped. Go and try it. Go and try it. Do not just skip to the next video and watch something else about making your lead vocal stand out. Go and check out how this can help your arrangement. All right, go and if you've had something that you've worked on recently or in the past, you've had a piano arrangement that didn't really work out that well, give it a go and send me the results. So I mean, I'd love to hear your piano arrangements and that sort of thing, so send them over and tell me in the comments section if you liked this video, if you didn't like this video, if it was interesting to you. That's about it. Just one more time, the ebook. So if you don't know what equipment you might need to get started recording and mixing, I have all of that equipment listed with my recommendations, equipment that I've used in the past, still use today, stuff that's really great, really affordable, really great for the home studio owner. It's a 25-page ebook. Just click the link in the description, give me your email address, I'll send it right over to you as a gift from me to you. For now, guys, go and make some awesome music, and remember to send it over to me. I wanna hear this stuff as well. So make some awesome music, and have a great week. Ciao.